Вітаю, шановні, ви на каналі Добро.ua і ми продовжуємо. Бажаю усім приємного перегляду. Так, сьогодні ми, мабуть, пробіжимося по побічних завдань. У нас багато побічних завдань, так, тому ми пробіжимося по них. Зараз поглянемо, що у нас там є. Так. Давайте ми ось це завдання пройдемо. Точно, підемо на це завдання. Так, запис у нас там йде. Так, все чудово, побігли. Ой, нам сюди.
Perhaps I could test out my new upgrade.
Glad you came.
О, і можемо ми ще це завдання пройти. Ну гаразд, давайте ми вже це пройдемо спершу. Побічне.
Hello, Serona. I received your owl. How are you?
Hello, my friend. Did you ever find Lodgog?
I did, thank you. We had a good conversation. He sends you his best.
Glad to hear it. I shan't ask for details of your little chat, and I'll refrain from telling you to be careful yet again. But I hope you will be, whatever your plans.
Of course. Your owl mentioned you're needing my help with something.
I do. I thought you might be just the person to do a favour for my friend Dorothy Sprottle in Upper Hogsfield.
I've actually met Mrs. Sprottle. I recently spoke with her about her friend, Claire Beaumont.
She's lovely. Her late husband Aidan was a friend of my father's. In fact, I'd stayed with Dot and Aidan the summers I waited tables here as a student. I've seen her a few times since Aidan passed, but the pub's been so busy lately, I've not been as attentive as I'd have liked. I wonder if you might pop in and see her. She may need some help collecting ingredients for her supply of Wiggenweld potion. And you could retrieve something of mine in the process. A box, full of old letters and such.
Why does Mrs. Sprottle keep a supply of Wiggenweld potion on hand?
Dot's a skilled potioneer. She's been supplying travelling vendors with Wiggenweld potion. An ordinary precaution that has, unfortunately, become a necessity, what with Ranrock's loyalists disrupting the trade routes.
Why did Mr. and Mrs. Sprottle have your box of letters after all this time?
It's one of a few that I had when I was young. Dot found it when she was clearing out a closet. Can't imagine what's in there. Probably terribly theatrical. The ramblings of a teenage witch and her friends. You're welcome to take a peek inside, if you do find it. To be honest, I'd imagine it contains some lovely memories.
I'll try to go and see her when I can.
It would mean the world to me, and to Dorothy. Aidan was bringing the box of letters to me when he was taken ill. Dot can tell you where he might have dropped it. You'll find the hamlet just north of Hogsmeade. Please do give Dot my love.
А потім, мабуть, ми пройдемо вже ось це завдання. Поговоримо потім з Попі. А зараз ходімо далі. Так, давайте поглянемо на карту. Так, далеченько нам. Ну, не зовсім, в принципі, далеченько. Так, давайте ми перемістимось.
Upper Hogsfield. Now, where to find Mrs. Sprottle?
Десь вона там, зараз
Who
поглянемо.
lives here?
Ну, давай, розмовляйте.
Nice to see you again, Mrs. Sprottle. Actually, Serona Ryan asked if I'd come and see you.
Oh, dear Serona, a gem. Has been for as long as I've known her.
She thought you might need help collecting ingredients for your Wiggenweld potion.
And she's correct. My darling Aidan used to collect hawklumps for me. Since he died, my supply has dwindled.
I'm sorry for your loss, Mrs. Sprottle.
Oh, thank you. Love of my life. A bit lost without him. If you wouldn't mind gathering some hawklumps for me, I'd be happy to compensate you for your time.
I can certainly try and find some for you.
That would be wonderful. I'm worried about the travelling vendors and would love to get them more Wiggenweld potion.
Sirona also mentioned that Mr. Sprottle was bringing her a box of letters when he fell ill.
Indeed he was. I'd almost forgotten. I stumbled upon it just before Aidan died. He was hoping to go through it with Sirona over a butterbeer or two. Those two were always like two bowtruckles in a branch. Aidan took ill when he was collecting hawk clumps on his way to see her. He made it home, but I fear he dropped the box in the cavern. The cavern is in the hills just southwest of our hamlet. You can gather hawk clumps and collect the box of letters there.
Sirona said she lived with you during the summers when she was at Hogwarts. What was she like?
Goodness. Well, she was almost exactly like she is now. Charming, good head on her shoulders, taking care of everyone. I can't tell you the fun we had when she and her friends would visit us during the year, all buzzing about, practicing charms. Talented group. Her friend Mirabelle was a genius in the garden. Learned it all from her muggle parents, if you can believe it.
Так, ну все, досить розмовляти.
Thank you, Mrs. Sprottle.
Thank you. I'll be here if you are able to collect those hawk lumps. I, and the vendors I help, would greatly appreciate it.
Ну, у нас же ж є інгредієнти для горобиного відвару. Ми б могли б дати їй, чи не можемо?
Hello again, Mrs. Sprottle.
Hello, dear. Was there
Where did you say I should go to harvest?
in a cavern in...
Ні, доведеться шукати. Гаразд, йдемо. Так, стоп. Давайте поглянемо, яке це у нас завдання введе. Це наше завдання? Так. Це наше завдання. Лабіринт якийсь тут появився. Ого, прикольно. Ну гаразд, ходімо. Нам потрібно знайти вхід до печери.
This place has seen better days.
А що ж то за завдання там? Цікаво. І попереду вороги.
Pathetic! Let's play Predator and Prey.
Meet me outside of Feldcross as soon as you can.
You may want to. Marvelous strike! No, too hot.
You'll pay for that!
Так, стоп. Там десь вхід, значить.
If I wanted this little excitement, I'd have a job at a bank.
Чи що? Давайте ось так ми зробимо. Так,
This must
ось
be the
вхід.
cavern Mrs. Sprottle mentioned.
Ну, ходімо.
Better have a look around. See about the hawk clumps and the box of letters.
Так,
Getting
є.
there. Just a few more hawk clumps to harvest.
Трішечки зібрали.
Revelio.
Давайте сюди підемо.
Almost there. One more hawk clump. That's all the hawk clumps for now. Mrs. Sprottle should be pleased.
Ну, нам не сюди. Давайте ми підемо туди і повернемось. Я сподіваюся, що нам сюди.
Confringo.
А
Revelio.
ні. Тут нічого немає. Нам все-таки туди. Ще нам потрібно зібрати листи Сирони. Пошукаємо. Ой!
Either I'll have to fight that troll, or avoid it altogether.
Нам десь там потрібно було шукати. Я далеко пішов, здається. Давайте ми вб'ємо цього троля швиденько. Поки що він нас не б'є, він під закляттям. О, все. Та він буде бити зараз нас. Ось так тобі. Так і є.
Should think they found that in London. Revelio.
Так, давайте тут ще заберемо ці грибочки. І десь там мають бути листи, значить. Ну, пошукаємо. Дорога Сарона, я створив цей невеликий подарунок, щоб подякувати тобі. Якби ти не підтримала мене на тренуванні по квідичу минулого тижня, я вже пішов би з команди. А зараз ми виграли кубок Гоґвортсу. Рейвенкло зобов'язаний тобі всім. Щиро твій Шон. Тут ще листи. Ого! Ні. Так, ви можете поставити на паузу і зачитати. А я не буду, тут дуже багато. Так, тут також ви поставите собі на паузу.
This must be Sirona's box of letters.
З днем народження, люба моя, я пробралася на кухню і попросила Фінки приготувати твої улюблені тістечка. Ну, не будемо ми це все читати. Я не буду, а ви як хочете.
I think that's everything. Sirona will be glad to have this back.
Так все, можемо повертатися.
I should find Mrs. Sprottle. She'll be glad to get these horklumps.
Так, давайте, мабуть, полетимо на мітлі. Так, буде швидко. Немає потреби використовувати швидке переміщення. Так, стоп, а я що, не туди летю, чи все вірно? Ні, все вірно.
Hello, Mrs. Sprottle. I have good news. I was able to harvest some horklumps for you, and I found Sirona's box of letters.
Oh, thank you. How wonderful. The travelling vendors will be thrilled to replenish their stock of Wiggenweld potion. And Sirona will be delighted to have those letters. How kind of you. Now you be careful heading back to Hogsmeade.
I should take this box of letters to Sirona. She'll be glad to have it back.
Так, а що ж там за завдання он поблизу? 479 метрів. Що то за завдання у нас? Навіть цікаво, а тут я їх не бачу. Не знаю. Ну гаразд, повертаємося до Сирони. Ага, може це ось це завдання показувало нам? Здається так. Ну гаразд, йдемо спершу до Сирони. Ну давайте, розмовляйте.
Hello, Sirona. I have good news. I was able to provide your friend Mrs. Sprottle with some horklumps for her Wiggenweld potion, and I found your box of letters.
Oh, thank you. I knew you were the one to ask.
I wondered about some of the letters in the box.
Of course. It appears most of the letters were from fellow students.
One of the letters mentioned Quidditch practice. Did you play?
I did. Was the Ravenclaw Seeker for 3 years. Oh, Merlin's beard. I adore Quidditch. Nothing like the feeling of catching the golden snitch when your team's down by 140 points. I'll never forgive Professor Black for cancelling it this year. I missed cheering for Ravenclaw.
I saw a letter from someone named Mirabelle. Is that Professor Garlick?
It is. Still one of my dearest friends. I know she wouldn't mind you having seen that letter. She and I are of a similar mind, especially when it comes to young people. We believe experience to be an invaluable teacher. To borrow a phrase from Mirabelle, it's a joy to see anyone blossom, but particularly one who doubted they ever would.
Ну, гаразд, досить розмовляти.
I'm glad I could be of help. Mrs. Sprottle sends her best.
Don't know what I'd have done without her and Aidan. Thank you, again, for helping her, and for returning this box of letters. It's nice to reflect on good memories.
Чудово, завершили ми це завдання. Так, якась там полиця в нагороду нам дали. Ну, давайте тепер це завдання пройдемо.
This is a change of pace from our last outing.
Don't remind me. The thought of that tent still makes my blood boil. I've been thinking about those poor dragons in the fighting ring. The collars they were wearing, they appeared to be goblin silver. I think a collar is precisely what we found at that poacher camp. I've never known poachers to use anything like that before.
The dragon that attacked my carriage was wearing a collar, and Professor Fig was genuinely baffled by its behaviour.
That attack always did strike me as a little strange, seemingly coming out of nowhere. Surely you aren't suggesting that the collars somehow control the poor creatures?
Exactly.
Merlin, I don't think the dragon we set free was wearing a collar, but we should check. And if we can find her, we can return her egg.
That's a good idea. We need to see this through.
I'll start looking into it right away. There was something else that I wanted to discuss with you. I didn't want to press it before. It seems I may have caused you more trouble with Victor Rookwood. Why is he after you?
Чому? Бо він божевільний.
Rookwood is working with Ranrock, and Ranrock is after something I found at Gringotts. Fig had a portkey that led us there after the dragon attack. It's a bit of a long story, and Fig had asked that I not speak of it yet.
Goodness. Well, that certainly helps to shed light on what we saw at the tent. Don't worry, I'll guard your secret as if it were my own. I shan't press for more details. In fact, I should probably be going. I'd like to track that dragon down as soon as I can. I'll
Що,
let
на
you
цьому
know when I
все?
have news of her location.
Так, ми поговорили лише і усе. Я думав, буде прям якесь завдання. А у нас тут лише діалог. Гаразд, давайте візьмемо наступне завдання. Тут поблизу, давайте ми це завдання візьмемо.
Pardon me, sir, but about those curious demiguise statues I've seen.
What? Who are you? Why do you ask?
They're causing Mr. Moon terrible distress.
Ha! Good. That was the idea.
So you did create them?
Yes, I did. It was a ploy to give that pathetic oaf Moon a taste of the grief he caused me years ago. You are the one who's been pilfering them.
I am, at the request of Mr. Moon. I received your owl. On your stationery.
Ah. Well, fitting Moon would enlist a student. Too cowardly to do it himself. Huh. Hasn't changed a bit. Even when we were at school, he was a cowardly bully. Gave me a horrible nickname, which I shan't repeat. I was thrilled when we left school and he seemed gone for good. Then I started seeing him around Hogsmeade. It was too much. Even if I do take satisfaction in that his life's destiny was to be a lowly caretaker.
Mr. Moon does a good deal for the school, and he's taught me a lot. He's terrified of those statues.
I know. You should have seen his face when that boggart appeared. Oh, priceless. That's when I knew what I needed to do. I simply didn't want to encounter him anymore. So, I shrewdly put a boggart in his path to learn his greatest fear. I then created the demiguise statues to keep him in his place, so to speak. The moons were inspired play on his name. It worked brilliantly, until you started clearing them out.
Так.
The statues are a form of bullying. You'll know better than him. Perhaps it's time you both moved on.
Fair point, I suppose. If they've terrified him, as you say, he may have learned his lesson.
Так, він засвоїв урок. Завдання оновлено. Ну, з ним ми потім вже поговоримо, я думаю. А зараз давайте поглянемо, які у нас там ще завдання є. Ну, і дійсно, я думаю, ми з ним потім поговоримо. Так. Ну, давайте ось це завдання візьмемо зараз. О, тут ще й неподалік. Так, значить, підемо ми на це завдання. А далі побачимо.
Does it get any more cozy than Hogsmeade?
Можливо, тут також ми лише просто поговоримо, а можливо і десь підемо. Давай, перелазь. А її тут нема, доведеться зачекати.
Are you ready to put an end to Harlow?
Ні, все-таки буде якесь завдання.
I'm ready to do what's needed to take Harlow down. I know you have a plan.
We must gather information from the friends of Mr. Bickle that Archie and Mrs. Bickle mentioned. Agabus Filbert, Otto Dibble, and Mr. and Mrs. Rabe.
All right.
I suggest that you speak with each of them while I head to the Hogshead. I saw some Ashwinders heading there. And as my mother would never go near the Hogshead, she is less likely to learn of my activities than if I were to wander the village questioning its residents.
Where am I to find these friends of his?
I do not know about Mr. Rabe, but his wife, Daisy, is often in Hogsmeade, as is Agabus Filbert. And Otto Dibble, he works at Gladrags, so you will likely find him there.
What sort of information am I trying to gather from these people?
They may know what evidence Mr. Bickle had against Harlow, or they may have evidence of their own. We simply need to know whatever they know.
Very well. I'll speak with them. See what I can learn.
I knew I could rely on you. We need to know how they are being blackmailed by Rookwood and Harlow. Meet me here after you have spoken with them. Hopefully, by the time you return, I will be able to move a bit more freely.
Так, з трьома особами потрібно поговорити. Так, пішли. Так, ну йдемо, мабуть, спершу сюди. Тут у нас... не знаю, хто там. Так, нам вище піднятись.
Mrs. Rabe should be nearby.
Ага, місіс Ботвінс у нас тут.
Oh, Isco, what have I done? Mrs. Rabe, I wondered if I might speak with you about Theophilus Harlow. I'm a friend of the Bickles and I'm trying to gather evidence against him.
Poor Joanna and little Archie. And now Harlow has taken my darling Isco.
What do you mean? Why?
I'm a security guard at Gringotts, and my husband is a curse breaker for them. Harlow approached me about helping him extort my colleagues into giving him treasures from the vaults.
And you declined?
Of course I declined. Repeatedly. I thought they'd given up, until I came home one night and found my husband gone, and a note affixed to my door with a knife. The note stated that I only had a few days to reconsider helping with some banking needs, and that my husband would appreciate it if I acted quickly. But the help Harlow wants is help that I cannot give, and my dearest Isco is paying the price.
Why wouldn't Harlow extort your husband?
Isco's job is even more removed from the vaults than mine. He travels the world for the bank. He could do nothing for Harlow. I'm the one in the bank on a daily basis, which evidently makes me an enticing target for blackmail.
Have you helped Harlow since your husband was taken?
No, I'm worried sick about Isco, but he'd never want me to compromise my integrity. I also know that he's extremely clever. That said, I was hoping he would have escaped by now. It makes me concerned as to why he hasn't.
Are you sure the note means that your husband was kidnapped?
What else could it possibly mean? Besides, I came home to find that someone had trampled the daisies in our garden. It may sound silly, but those were Isco's pride and joy. He would never have let that happen.
Thank you, Mrs. Rabe. Knowing the lengths that Harlow will go to is helpful, albeit more than disturbing.
Mr. Bickle was trying to help us, but now he's gone. I don't know what to do.
I shall do all I can to get evidence against Harlow, Mrs. Rabe.
Very well. Here's the note I received. You must be careful as well. Please don't put yourself in danger.
Місіс Бодвінс, ми сподіваємося, що ви переглянете своє рішення щодо матеріальної допомоги. Ви дали достатньо часу, але наше терпіння не безмежне. Ваш чоловік, напевно, хоче, щоб ви зрозуміли всю цінність нашої співпраці. Чи готові ви відповісти до кінця тижня? Ця розмова має залишитися між нами. Сподіваємось, ви розумієте.
Some evidence worth hanging on to.
Thank you. I hope it's not too
Rebellion.
late.
Now to find Mr. Bickle's other two friends.
Так, ну ходімо, нам ще залишилося з двома поговорити. Ну йдемо, сюди спершу.
Otto Dibble works at Gladrags. I should check there.
Please tell me you didn't take it, but perhaps it's been here all along.
Mr. Dibble, may I speak with you? It's about Theophilus Harlow.
I've nothing to say about him. May I interest you in a stunning cravat today?
Please, sir, I would like to help. I spoke to Mrs. Bickle.
You know the Bickles? All right, but we must be discreet. Can't have Mr. Hill hearing this.
I know Mr. Hill. He was kind to me the day of the troll attack.
Oh, he's a good man, but even he wouldn't understand about Harlow. It started a few weeks ago. I was distracted, reading a note, when you-know-who came into the shop. I hid the note behind the counter and offered to help him. He stared at me for a moment, then asked me to check on an order he'd placed. I went into the storeroom to check on what turned out to be a non-existent order. When I returned, he was holding the note.
What was in the note?
It was a note from Rosie Hill, Mr. Hill's daughter. You see, we've been, secretly engaged these past 6 months. We haven't told Mr. Hill yet. I dare say he has higher hopes for her. Harlow advised me in no uncertain terms that my relationship with Rosie, not to mention my employment here, depended upon my cooperation.
What did he ask you to do?
It all happened so quickly. In an instant, he took a very expensive scarf from the counter, pocketed it, and smiled. He said, "Your secret is safe as long as I can supply my lady friend with delightful items like this every so often." I've been able to cover for his requests until now with some creative bookkeeping, but I can't keep it up for much longer. I'm terrified to say anything. I could never live without Rosie.
Ой, так багато розмовляють.
Could you give me a bit more detail about the note that might help me to identify it should I come across it?
It's on Rosie's special pink stationery. It has her monogram at the top, RH. That's how Mr. Hill would know it was real.
What have you been doing to keep the extortion a secret?
Well, as I mentioned, creative bookkeeping. And I've also been trying to cover the costs with my own savings, but I'm running out of money. Of course, none of this bodes well for my efforts to improve my circumstances and to be worthy of Rosie.
I met Mr. Hill the day of the troll attack. He was kind to me. Why don't you just tell him?
He's a lovely man, but when it comes to Rosie, I fear he loses all perspective. He'd see this as a grave betrayal. I'd lose my job instantly, and Rosie as well.
Thank you for telling me. I'm gathering evidence to take Harlow down.
I would love nothing more than to see him rotting in Azkaban, but be careful. He's an awful man and incredibly dangerous. As for Rosie's letter, should you happen upon it, I have committed it to memory. You may destroy it immediately.
Understood.
Now hurry off before Mr. Hill returns. Where was I?
We're on the right track. Now to find the last of Mr. Bickle's friends.
Так, ну ходімо, ще один залишився, поговоримо що з ним. Давайте, може, сюдою підемо.
Agabus Filbert must be around here somewhere.
Так, ось він.
Hello there.
Excuse me, Mr. Filbert. I wondered if I might speak with you about your dealings with Theophilus Harlow. I hope to ease Mrs. Bickle's mind by gathering evidence against him.
Oh, tragic what happened to Bickle. He wanted me to speak out against Harlow for an act of violence committed against me. But I feared Harlow's retaliation, and so I refused.
Дарма.
If you had spoken out against him as Mr. Bickle asked, perhaps Harlow would be locked away by now.
Perhaps. But perhaps I would have suffered a similar fate.
You said that Harlow committed an act of violence against you. Could you tell me what happened?
Before my extraordinary wife, Dulcibella, passed away, she had just completed a small book of poetry. As a surprise for her birthday, one she never had the chance to celebrate, I had the book beautifully bound and plated in gold. One day, Harlow came calling to punish me for having spoken out against the Neanderthals that comprise Rookwood's lot. Before I knew it, I'd been petrified, and Harlow was rifling through my home. He found the book of poetry, with its exquisite gold plating. I watched helplessly, lying there in my entranceway as he walked away with the book, laughing as he went. I was shaken to my core, still am, to be honest.
I imagine you fear Harlow retaliating again. But do you mind if I share this information with Officer Singer?
I suppose I have no choice. This extortion can't go on forever. You can pass it on to anyone who may be willing to help. Harlow does not like people talking, as you already know.
I've spoken with Mr. Bickle's friends. Now to find Natty.
Так, ну все, тепер повертаємося до Наті. Що з нею поговоримо. Погано, що тут ми не можемо в місті літати. Тут також ще не можемо літати. Ну, гаразд, тут все одно трішечки ще пробігтися.
It's not like Natty to be late. She said she was going to the Hog's Head. Perhaps I'll find her there.
А її тут немає. І знову назад бігти. Та скільки можна? Давайте сюдою підемо. Що вона
Natty
тут
must be
забула?
around here somewhere.
Так, давайте обійдемо сюдою, мабуть.
Natty's
Паличка.
wand. She can cast without it. She wanted me to find this. She's in trouble. Revelio will show me where she was taken.
Так що, її хтось викрав, чи що? Можливо, їх хтось дійсно викрав. Тут якісь квіточки ще валяються. Взимку.
Revelio.
Звідки тут ці квіточки взялися? То її міг викрасти.
Get what's coming to them.
Ага, нам потрібно зайти в підвал. Ну якщо нам зайти в підвал, то її точно хтось потягнув в той підвал. Ну йдемо.
Footprints led to this room. There must be another way forward.
Так, і що тут зробити? Давайте ось так. Одна бочка. І ще одна бочка.
The hidden door.
О. Потаємні двері. Так, не обов'язково знайдіть книгу віршів і не обов'язково знайдіть любовний лист. Ну, пошукаємо.
Natty must have been taken this way. I need to find her quickly.
Нічого не пропустимо тут. Усе заберемо. Пошукаємо всі ті листи.
Sure I'm not seen.
Так, щоб нас не побачили. Ну, гаразд.
Revelio.
Там десь листи мають бути.
Using that girl as bait? No one's coming for her. We ought to just kill her. Only a Hogwarts student would be arrogant enough to come in here alone.
Just keep an eye out.
Hey.
Так, потрібно, щоб вони розійшлися. О, так, так. Ідіть звідси.
Supplies run low, though. Always makes me nervous when our stocks aren't brimming.
I don't mind breaking a few bones if there's a few galleons in it for me.
Можна було б їх і перебити.
Didn't think anyone would be daft enough to sneak up on me.
The fog blighted us a bit, I'll agree.
Так, давайте його
Nonetheless,
оглушимо.
we have good
Щоб не
sport
ходила
for
тут.
our efforts.
The troll you are.
І ніхто тебе тут не знайде.
I've raided Brockborough
А ні,
more times than I
біжить.
can count.
Нічого
I'd take
собі.
what I want.
Ще побачить зараз нас.
I hope Rookwood knows what he's doing.
Зараз цього оглушим. Хоча було б швидше їх усіх перебити.
I've robbed every traveling vendor that's passed through here. They
А
never
може і
see
не
it
швидше.
coming. What are we even doing here? We ought to be at the Hog's Head. This is a waste of our time.
Листи б десь знайти. Там щось є. Так, це монетки. Ага, ми туди можемо піти. Давайте зайдемо сюди. Там сундук є. Монети. Так, а як вище піднятися? Не знаю. Ну гаразд, йдемо далі. Що у нас тут? Невідомий предмет для спини. А, ось сходи. Невідоме вбрання. А тут що? О, якась записка. Чудово. Дорогий Ото, я перечитала твій останній лист незліченну кількість разів і буду перечитувати знову і знову щогодини, поки ми не зустрінемося. Так, далі ви можете зачитати.
Otto Dibble's love letter from Rosie. He wanted me to destroy this if I found it.
Чудово. Щоб знайти книгу віршів, будемо усі скрині відчиняти. Ого, якийсь ще лист. Ти милий мені немов Авгуреї, чия пісня передвісниця дощу. Я з кожним днем люблю сильніше. Так, це дійсно якийсь віршик.
Book of poems that was taken from Agabus Filbert. He'll be thrilled to have this back.
Так, знайшли. Чудово. Що ти там дивишся? Великі килими. О, чудово, чудово. Я саме хотів якийсь великий килим в нашу виручай кімнату. І ще якийсь невідомий предмет. Ну все, тепер шукаємо Наті. Де там вона? Так, біом.
Natty must be here somewhere.
Так, встигли.
Revelio.
Ну давайте ми їх переб'ємо. Ось так. І заберемо там ще той сундук. Як тут монети. І все. Так, ми все обшукали. Все забрали. Ходімо далі. А, ось вона.
I knew you would realize I had left my wand for you. Speak to Mr. Rabe. He will tell you what you need to do.
Так, заберемо тут усе. Розкидали тут монети. Зачекай, зачекай.
Revelio.
О, ще сундук якийсь. Що у нас тут?
Alohomora.
Можливо, щось цінне. Нарешті. Паличка якась у нас. А це хто такий? Ну це ж Наті. Ага. Ну що, його також маємо звільнити?
Mr. Rabe, Daisy told me you'd been abducted.
She spoke with my wife. How is she?
Worried about you. Are you all right?
I am all right. Thank you for coming. These locks are cursed, and there's an anti-apparition jinx on the cells. Even Natty's skill with wandless magic cannot free us. I need you to find my wand.
Mr. Rabe, I found your wand.
Well done. I knew it was nearby. Now, you best stand back. One never knows how a curse will react to being broken.
Ну давай, взламуй двері. Що, все? І швидко впорався. Ще Наті потрібно звільнити. Давай, давай, бігом. Молодець.
Thank you,
Dali.
Mr. Isco.
My pleasure. And thank you, my friend. We owe our lives to your bravery. I may be too weak to disapparate with you both, but I can try.
You go ahead. Find Officer Singer. We will get out of here on our own.
Very well. But be careful. Thank you, my young friends.
Be prepared for a fight. These Ashwinders must pay.
Ну все, йдемо на вихід. Так, сідою? Ні, не сідою. Дейзі сюдою. Йдеш, так?
Let's find Officer Singer and put an end to Harlow once and for all.
Давайте вже будемо завершувати це завдання.
Natsai Onai. I should have known. And you, the troll dispatcher. Oh, thank goodness the two of you are safe. Isco Rabe told me a couple of students had rescued him. Should have known it was you two.
Is Mr. Rabe all right?
He is. I sent him home to his wife. Miss Onai, your mother will not be pleased to learn that you're still risking your safety pursuing these dangerous men.
Actually, Officer Singer, Natty and I learned of several Hogsmeade residents who've had their lives threatened by the Ashwinders. In addition to abducting Mr. Rabe to blackmail his wife and Natty, Rookwood and Harlow have also extorted Agabus Filbert and Otto Dibble.
I will look into all of that. As for the two of you, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but you are taking great risk. Next time, please let the authorities handle the Ashwinders.
Ага, знаємо ви, як ваша влада розбирається.
With all due respect, officer, the authorities haven't done much about any of this.
There's more to taking down an organization like the Ashwinders than simply storming in and hauling them off based on a few accusations. I must insist that you leave them to us. We shall have no further discussion on this. Natsai, you may wish to speak with your mother about this before I do.
My mother will not like this. Thank you again for rescuing me. We shall speak soon.
Нарешті. Так, знаєте, друзі, давайте далі ми зараз, мабуть, трішечки світ дослідимо. Нам потрібно ось цю частину карти трішечки відкрити. Давайте ми перемістимося сюди і потім трішечки полетимо. Так, лист нам. Так, від кого це лист?
I suspect that's your doing. Thank you from me and Rosie both. We're just leaving for our honeymoon after we tell Mr. Hill of our recent marriage. Wish me luck.
Ну, удачі вам. Так, давайте, мабуть, полетимо ми на метлі. Так буде швидше.
Revelio.
Так. Нам, мабуть, цю гору облетіти потрібно. Так, стоп, як нам туди добратися? Що, сюдою десь? Ей, а як нам на той бік? Можливо, сюдою? Ага. Ну, прикольно, прикольно. Угу. Ну, давайте поглянемо на карту. Ну, мабуть, сюдою. Я так думаю. Чого ти там ховаєшся? Ховався. Блін. На тобі. Ось так. Тепер пішли далі. Там ще один.
No, that's embarrassing.
На тобі.
Pity. Not quite. Easily diverted.
Та йолки-палки. Ось так зробив. Ну, прикольно тут так все виглядає. Це що, гобліни все побудували?
This looks
Є.
intriguing. Revelio.
А тут якась печера. Що, можливо, сходим? Ну, давайте поглянемо, що там.
Revelio.
А як мені туди вилізти? А, ось. І якийсь невідомий предмет. А там десь ще щось є.
Confringo. Bombarda.
А як забрати? Там якийсь мішок.
Bombarda. Revelio.
Як той мішок забрати?
Bombarda. Accio.
Так ми не притягнемо.
Confringo.
Ну гаразд, я думаю, там все одно нічого цінного в тому мішку немає.
Revelio.
I have some promising news about the location of our Hebridean dragon friend and where to return her you know what. Meet me in the town circle in Hogsmeade.
Давайте ми їх просто оглушимо. Давай! А ми можемо його звідси скинути? О, він сам впав. Вибач, вибач. Я тебе не планував скидати. Так, а тут що таке?
Wait a moment.
Монети ми підібрали. І ще монети. Ти мене не бачив. Ось так ми зробимо.
Finally rule over wizards.
І його б оглушити.
You are the talk of the school since you saved Mr. Rib and I from the Ashwinders. We have come so far. We should discuss the next steps in our plan to stop Harlow.
Є. Перемогли ще одного сумнозвісного ворога.
You only have Ranrock to blame.
А тут що у нас?
Revelio.
Ще можна вниз спуститися. Але я думаю, ми цього не будемо робити. Хоча там якийсь сундук є, можливо забрати. Ну давайте ми спустимось. Поглянем.
Revelio.
І нічого кращого, ніж на нас одягненим, ми не взяли. Гаразд, ходімо далі. Розблокуємо ще одну точку переміщення. Ну все, ходімо. Є.
Revelio.
І здобули ми досягнення Steam. Зрозуміло. Ой, у нас новий рівень. Давайте поглянемо ще на навички. Щось прокачаємо. Так, заклинання. О, на бочку перетворювати ворогів на вибухову бочку. Це чудовий навик. Прокачуємо, звісно. І ще, можливо, темні мистецтва прокачати. Також ось це ми прокачаємо. І ключові, можливо, ще. Так. Ну, нехай буде ось цей навик. Все. Що ж, друзі, на цьому ми вже завершимо. Дякую, що дивилися Солов'їною. До зустрічі у наступному епізоді.